Hey everybody, it's Torrance with Sword Guy Builds. Today we're going to be talking about flicks. So a flick by its nature is a very linear crack as opposed to the circular motion you need for, say, a cattleman's crack. That means that your wrist control and your plane control need to be really dialed in order to throw flicks with authority. So let's start with the overhand flick. Roughly what you're going to be doing is raising your hand a little bit behind you to about shoulder height, and then launching it forward across as straight a line as you can, and then flick the wrist at the end. And the follow through is going to be straight down and back, just like for a cattleman's crack. So I feel that there are two ways to get the crack when you're throwing a flick. One way is to just throw the whip forward and rely on your backward tension and your follow through to get the crack. The second way is to get it up in the air and then let it start falling back down a little bit and really lay your hand back like this, so that when you throw it forward, it's more like throwing a cattleman's crack. For both of these methods, the timing is very important, and it's the sort of thing you'll just have to play around with to figure out. But I do feel I have much more control when I do it the second way. But the second way can be a little bit tougher to do with shorter, lighter whips. Moving on to the sidearm flick, there are two ways to start the motion. You can either start with the whip laid out straight behind you, in which case you're just going to be lifting it slightly while you're moving it forward, and then flick your wrist at the end, and that should get you the crack. Or you can start with the whip laid out in front of you and drag it up into the air behind you to start that flick. I will say I find it a little easier to control the crack if I do start with it laid out in front of me and drag it up in the back like that. Now for the underhand flick, that's where we kind of get into different utility for two ways to launch that crack. Again, you can either start with it laid on the ground behind you, or with it laid out on the ground in front of you. Something to note about the underhand flick, because we have gravity pulling the whip down, we kind of need to give it a lot of upward momentum. I find that if I give the whip a slight scooping motion going down and then up near the end of that motion, that really helps me to get a lot of volume out of the crack. Again, for all of these, wrist discipline becomes very, very important. If you flex your wrist too much in any direction, or if you move your elbow or your shoulder in just the wrong way, it'll break up the entire crack and you're going to hit yourself. So I argue that this is the sort of thing that you really just have to drill. Just do it over and over and over. Here are two moves that I really like to do that stem from flicks. The first one is a move I call the sweep and kiss. The other one I call the Sparks cross. I decided on that name because I've seen my friend Robert Sparks do this move sometimes. It's essentially repeating underhand flicks that cross your body line, and it generally only works well with longer whips because you really rely on the ground to stop the whip's momentum. That is all the information I can give you. Go out there and drill it, practice it until it makes sense. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.